Snow drifted softly outside Lena Carter's apartment window while cinnamon candles burned across the kitchen counter. Christmas music played low from her old speaker as she stirred gravy on the stove and checked the turkey one more time. Every year she hosted Christmas Eve dinner for the family because nobody else bothered to do it properly. Her parents depended on her organization, her younger sister Vanessa depended on her money, and somehow, despite being the one everyone leaned on, Lena always ended the holidays feeling invisible. Still, she tried. She wrapped gifts carefully in silver paper. Even the expensive designer handbag Vanessa had casually mentioned wanting 2 months earlier. Lena couldn't really afford it, but she bought it anyway because that was what she always did, sacrifice quietly and smile loudly. Her phone buzzed on the counter. At first, Lena smiled, expecting Vanessa to ask what time dinner started. But the moment she opened the message, the warmth inside her disappeared. Vanessa, Bryce and I talked, and honestly, it's better if you don't come tomorrow. You bring tension everywhere and people are uncomfortable around you. We want a peaceful Christmas with real family. Please respect that. Lena stared at the screen. Another message arrived seconds later. And stop acting like you're a victim all the time. Nobody owes you anything. The spoon slipped from Lena's hand and clattered against the stove. For a long moment, she simply stood there, unable to breathe properly. Her chest tightened as if someone had reached inside and squeezed her heart with both hands. Real family. The words echoed louder than the Christmas music. Lena blinked hard, reading the texts again and again as though they might magically change into something kinder. But they stayed cruel, cold, final. She immediately called Vanessa, straight to voicemail, again, voicemail. Then Lena called her mother. Her mother answered quietly, almost guiltily. "Hi, sweetheart." "Mom, what is this?" Lena whispered. "Vanessa just told me not to come tomorrow." Silence. That silence hurt more than the text. Finally, her mother sighed. "Honey, maybe it's better to avoid conflict this year." Lena felt something crack inside her. "Avoid conflict. I bought the gifts. I cooked everything. I paid for half of Vanessa's groceries last month. I know you've helped," her mother said weakly. "But Bryce thinks you judge them." Lena laughed bitterly. "Judge them? Bryce still owes me $12,000. Please don't start tonight," her mother whispered. "It's Christmas Eve." The call ended soon after. Lena slowly sat at the kitchen table, staring at the untouched decorations around her apartment. Her eyes drifted toward the small stack of unpaid bills near the coffee maker, bills created partly because she had spent years rescuing Vanessa from disaster after disaster. 3 years earlier, Vanessa had begged Lena for money to save her house from foreclosure. Lena emptied most of her savings to help. When Bryce lost money on a failed investment, Lena quietly paid their electric bill so nobody would know. Every crisis became her responsibility, and now she was being erased by text message. Outside, children laughed somewhere in the snowy street below. The sound only deepened the loneliness filling the apartment. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a social media notification. Vanessa had posted a smiling photo beside Bryce in matching Christmas pajamas. "Protecting our peace this holiday season," the caption read. Hundreds of likes already appeared beneath it. Lena locked the phone instantly, nausea twisting her stomach. She walked numbly into the living room and sank onto the couch. Tears finally spilled down her cheeks, hot and humiliating. She cried for the money, the disrespect, the years of emotional exhaustion. But mostly she cried because deep down she realized something terrible. Vanessa had never loved her the way she was loved in return. Then another thought surfaced through the pain. Bryce Holloway, defense contractor, Pentagon clearance. Lena's breathing slowed. 2 years earlier, Bryce's federal background investigation had landed briefly on her desk during an internal compliance review. She remembered the hidden discrepancies she chose not to report because Vanessa begged her not to ruin their future. At the time, Lena protected them. But tonight, sitting alone beside a glowing Christmas tree while her family celebrated without her, she suddenly wondered something she had never allowed herself to consider before. What if protecting them had been the biggest mistake of her life? The Christmas decorations remained untouched long after the holiday ended. Lena could not bring herself to pack them away. The glowing tree in the corner of her apartment felt less like celebration now and more like evidence, proof of how hard she had tried for people who discarded her the moment she became inconvenient. For 3 days, Vanessa never called, not once. Instead, Lena watched her sister post cheerful photos online from ski lodges, expensive restaurants, and family gatherings Lena had been deliberately excluded from. Every smiling picture felt like another insult carefully aimed at her chest. On the 4th morning after Christmas, Lena arrived at the Pentagon compliance office before sunrise. The building buzzed quietly with fluorescent lights and distant footsteps. Usually, her job demanded emotional distance and precision. Today was no different, at least on the surface. She sat at her desk, entered her credentials, and opened the archived clearance records for Bryce Holloway. Immediately, old memories returned. Bryce had always been charming in public, confident, smooth, the kind of man who shook hands too firmly and smiled too perfectly. Vanessa worshipped him because he made money and knew powerful people. Their parents adored him because he looked successful. But Lena had spent enough years investigating people to recognize rehearsed behavior when she saw it. She opened the original financial disclosures from Bryce's security clearance renewal. Her eyes narrowed instantly. Several overseas transactions previously marked resolved now appeared incomplete in the updated federal system. There were unexplained wire transfers linked to a consulting company in Cyprus. Another flagged payment originated from an account associated with foreign subcontractors under federal review. Lena leaned closer to the screen. "How did this get cleared?" she whispered. Then she remembered, because of her. 2 years earlier, Bryce had called her privately, panicked that minor discrepancies would delay his clearance renewal and cost him millions in contracts. Vanessa had cried on the phone for hours, begging Lena not to destroy their future over paperwork. So Lena documented the concerns lightly instead of escalating them aggressively. She protected them. Now she kept digging. The deeper she searched, the worse it became. Bryce failed to disclose several gambling debts. He omitted luxury assets purchased through shell companies. Most alarming of all, he had repeated private communications with a foreign technology broker connected to sensitive defense procurement contracts. Lena's stomach tightened. This was no longer family drama. This was federal risk exposure. Her office phone rang suddenly, startling her. It was Vanessa. Lena stared at the screen for several seconds before answering. "What?" she said coldly. Vanessa exhaled dramatically. "Well, still angry. You disowned me by text message on Christmas Eve." "Oh my God, Lena, stop being dramatic." Vanessa snapped. "Bryce and I just wanted one peaceful holiday. You called me not real family. That's not what I meant." "It's exactly what you meant." Silence filled the line briefly before Vanessa changed her tone. "Look, Bryce's contract renewal is coming up, and he mentioned you still work in compliance. Can you make sure nobody causes delays? There's already some review happening." Lena froze. "Interesting. So Bryce already knew. I'm not involved in his review." Lena replied carefully. "Well, maybe you should be." Vanessa said sharply. "After everything we've been through together, you owe us at least that." Lena almost laughed at the absurdity. Owe us after years of unpaid loans, emotional abuse, and humiliation. Vanessa still believed Lena existed purely to rescue her. "You know what's funny?" Lena said quietly. "What? I used to think helping you made me a good sister." Vanessa scoffed impatiently. "Here we go again with the victim speech." "No," Lena interrupted calmly. "I'm finally done giving speeches." Then she ended the call. For several minutes, Lena sat motionless at her desk. The office around her hummed with ordinary activity, but inside her chest, something fundamental had changed. The guilt that once controlled her was slowly disappearing. In its place came clarity. She opened a fresh compliance memorandum and began documenting every inconsistency she found in Bryce's file. Every missing disclosure, every suspicious transfer, every foreign contact omitted during federal interviews. Her hands remained steady while typing. When the report was complete, Lena forwarded the evidence directly to the Department of Defense Investigative Division for formal review. One click, that was all it took. Within hours, Bryce Holloway's active security clearance was temporarily suspended pending investigation. Lena leaned back slowly after receiving confirmation. Outside her office window, snow drifted silently across Washington. For the first time in years, Lena no longer felt powerless. And somewhere across the city, Vanessa and Bryce were just beginning to realize their perfect life had started collapsing. The fallout began quietly. At first, Bryce Holloway insisted everything was a misunderstanding. Vanessa repeated those exact words to anyone willing to listen. According to her social media posts, their life remained flawless: romantic dinners, expensive wine, smiling selfies beside fireplaces in luxury hotels. But Lena knew desperation when she saw it. People who were secure did not work so hard to appear happy. 2 weeks after Bryce's clearance suspension, the first real crack appeared. One of Bryce's federal contracts was frozen indefinitely pending investigation. Then another. His consulting firm quietly removed his biography from their company website. Industry friends stopped returning calls. Invitations disappeared. The same people who once praised Bryce suddenly acted as though they barely knew him. And with every passing day, Vanessa called Lena more aggressively. 10 missed calls one morning, 7 texts after midnight. "You've made your point. Please fix this before it gets worse. You're destroying our lives." Lena answered none of them. For once, she allowed silence to become her boundary. Then came Sunday dinner. Their mother begged Lena to attend, promising the family only wanted peace. Against her better judgment, Lena agreed. Part of her still hoped someone might finally acknowledge the pain they caused her. The moment she entered her parents' dining room, tension smothered the air. Vanessa sat stiffly beside Bryce at the table, her designer clothes and perfect makeup unable to hide the exhaustion underneath. Bryce looked worse, pale, angry, hollow-eyed. Their father cleared his throat nervously. "Let's just have a calm dinner tonight." Nobody touched the food. Finally, Vanessa slammed her wine glass onto the table. "I can't pretend anymore." Their mother whispered. "Vanessa, no," she snapped. She did this. Every eye turned toward Lena. Bryce folded his arms bitterly. "My clearance investigation reopened days after your little sister got upset over Christmas." Lena met his stare evenly. "If your records were clean, you wouldn't have a problem. That's not how federal reviews work," Bryce hissed. Actually, Lena thought that's exactly how they work. Vanessa's face twisted with fury. "You ruined our future because your feelings got hurt." Lena felt years of swallowed anger rise slowly inside her. "My feelings," she repeated quietly. "Yes," Vanessa shouted. "You've always been jealous of us, of our marriage, our lifestyle, everything." The accusation stunned even their parents into silence. Lena laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. "Jealous," she said. "Vanessa, I emptied my savings to stop your house from being foreclosed." Vanessa looked away immediately. "I paid your utilities when Bryce lost money gambling." Their father blinked sharply. "Gambling?" Bryce muttered. "That's exaggerated." Lena ignored him. "I covered your medical bills after your cosmetic surgery because you cried about debt for 3 straight nights." Their mother slowly lowered her fork, shock spreading across her face. "And after all that," Lena continued, voice trembling now, "you disowned me through a text message because I embarrassed your perfect little image." Vanessa stood abruptly. "You're twisting everything." "No," Lena said firmly. "For the first time in my life, I'm telling the truth out loud." Bryce suddenly leaned forward. "You think you're innocent here. You reopened classified compliance issues out of personal revenge." "I followed federal procedure," Lena replied calmly. "You lied on official disclosures, repeatedly. That's not proven." Lena looked directly at him. "Then why are investigators interviewing your foreign contacts?" The color drained from Bryce's face instantly. Vanessa turned toward her husband slowly. "What foreign contacts?" Bryce hesitated. Too long, Lena saw the exact moment fear entered Vanessa's eyes. "There are no foreign contacts," Bryce said quickly. But the confidence was gone now. Vanessa stared at him. "Bryce, Vanessa, don't start. You told me the investigation was only about accounting errors." "It is." Lena reached into her purse calmly and placed a folded document on the dinner table, publicly accessible business filings. Wire transfers, overseas consulting partnerships. Vanessa unfolded the papers with shaking hands. Her expression changed line by line. Confusion, disbelief, then devastation. You lied to me, she whispered. Bryce slammed his hand against the table. I was handling it, but Vanessa pushed her chair back violently. No, she said weakly. You said my sister was attacking us because she was bitter. Nobody spoke. The silence felt enormous. For years, Vanessa blamed Lena for every uncomfortable truth in her life. But now the illusion was collapsing too completely to ignore. Lena stood slowly and picked up her coat. Before leaving, she looked at her sister one final time. I didn't destroy your marriage, she said softly. Then she looked directly at Bryce. He did. The divorce became official in early November. By then, Bryce Holloway's career had already collapsed beyond repair. Multiple federal contracts were terminated. Several investigations remained ongoing, and most of his professional connections disappeared the moment his influence vanished. The man who once walked into rooms like he owned them now spent his days negotiating legal fees and reputation damage. Lena rarely thought about him anymore. That surprised her the most. For months after Christmas, anger had fueled her forward. Every cruel memory, every unpaid sacrifice, every humiliating dismissal had burned inside her like a wound that refused to heal. But eventually, something changed, the anger got tired, and when it faded, peace quietly took its place. Lena focused on rebuilding herself instead of replaying old betrayals. She accepted a promotion within the compliance division, moved into a brighter apartment overlooking the river, and slowly reconnected with people she had neglected while constantly rescuing her family. She started sleeping better, laughing more, saying no without guilt. For the first time in years, her life no longer revolved around cleaning up someone else's disasters. Meanwhile, Vanessa disappeared almost completely after separating from Bryce. Their parents mentioned her occasionally but carefully avoided details. Lena learned through relatives that Bryce had hidden enormous debts, secret loans, and additional lies throughout the marriage. Ironically, Vanessa discovered the same painful truth Lena had carried for years. Loving someone did not mean they valued you back. December arrived quietly. One snowy evening, Lena sat beside her apartment window wrapping gifts, while soft jazz played through the room. And like previous holidays, there was no pressure to impress anyone. No frantic cooking for ungrateful guests. No financial sacrifices disguised as love, just calm. Her phone buzzed suddenly. Vanessa. Lena stared at the name for several seconds before answering. Hello. Her sister's voice sounded smaller than she remembered. Can I see you? Lena hesitated. Why? Because I owe you an apology. An hour later, Vanessa arrived carrying no designer purse, no expensive jewelry, no polished confidence. She looked exhausted but real in a way Lena had never seen before. For a moment, neither sister spoke. Then Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. I was horrible to you, she whispered. Lena remained silent. Vanessa looked down at her trembling hands. Bryce made me believe keeping appearances mattered more than people, and I let him. Her voice cracked painfully. But that's not an excuse. I treated you terribly long before him. The honesty in those words hit harder than Lena expected. I kept thinking about Christmas Eve. Vanessa continued softly, about that text message. I don't even recognize the person who wrote it anymore. Lena crossed her arms carefully, protecting herself from slipping back into old patterns too quickly. You humiliated me, she said quietly, after everything I did for you. I know. You made me feel disposable. Vanessa wiped tears from her cheeks. Because I was selfish and weak and honestly jealous, that caught Lena off guard. Jealous of what? You? Vanessa admitted. You were always stronger than me. You never needed validation from rich people or fake friends. Bryce controlled me because I cared too much about looking successful. Lena studied her sister's face carefully. For once, there was no manipulation hiding underneath the words. Only regret. I can't pretend everything is fixed now, Lena said after a long silence. I forgive you, but things have to change. They will. Vanessa promised immediately. No more guilt, no more using me when your life falls apart, no more disrespect. Vanessa nodded through tears. Okay, a quiet stillness settled between them, not perfect, not healed completely, but honest. On Christmas Eve, nearly 1 year after the text that shattered their relationship, Lena hosted dinner again. This time, the gathering was small, just Lena, Vanessa, and their parents around a simple table glowing with candlelight. No fake performances, no expensive decorations meant to impress strangers online, just family trying, imperfectly, to become better. At one point during dinner, Lena noticed Vanessa watching her carefully. "What?" Lena asked. Her sister smiled sadly. "I almost lost you forever." Lena looked around the warm room, hearing soft laughter from her parents for the first time in years without tension hiding underneath it. Then she finally understood something important. The sweetest revenge had never been ruining Bryce's career. It was learning her own worth before anyone else had the power to take it away again.